I did it. I beat Metroid Fusion. Technically for the second time in my life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday. It was week 4, the 4th stream. Finished it today. That means that it took more time than Metroids 1 and 2, but a little less time than Super Metroid. This is the second time that I've played this game because I bought Metroid Fusion when it came out in 2002. And it is, up until I started playing the Metroid series a few months ago, it was the only Metroid game that I had ever finished. I bought Fusion and Prime together when they came out. I finished Fusion, and I don't know how far I got in Prime. I don't think I beat it. More than halfway? I don't know. I guess at some point, if I play that, I'll find out. Revisiting Metroid Fusion, having played the other Metroids, was excellent. Because when I first played Metroid Fusion, I had no basis of understanding for the Metroid series, other than I knew who Samus Aran was. I mean, I had played the Smash series. If I had ever played like Super Metroid or anything, it had been for not very long at all. So I didn't really know a whole lot about it going into it. And that was my first experience playing the Metroid series. But now, playing it again with all of the history of Metroid 1, 2, and 3, and seeing the progression of the games, both mechanically, but also graphically, it's better. it's a much better experience to have that that knowledge and to have that backstory and to be like, okay, when they talk about SR388, I know what they mean. You know, I understand what's going on. That was very cool. It was also neat because there's certain mechanics, there's certain items, there's certain weapons that are expected, and Metroid Fusion does a few things to put those on their head a little bit. Like, you don't, and I guess this will be a little spoilery. I mean, I know that this game came out 22 years ago, but this will probably be a little spoilery. So if you're worried about that, here's your warning. You don't get an ice beam in Metroid Fusion, and that's interesting, but that's explained narratively because, you know, essentially the villain of Metroid Fusion has the ice beam, and you can't get it because they have it. But then this is supplemented with ice missiles, so that's a little different. It's like, okay, so now if I want to use, you know, a freezing feature, that's not something that just comes out of my gun for free. I have to use up missiles to do that. Then later you get the diffusion missiles, which is interesting. There are some points of the game that use that, but I feel like that was somewhat like underutilized. Maybe I should have been firing diffusion missiles more. I don't know. You also still have power bombs. Those make a return from Super, and those are invaluable because in Super you have the X-ray visor, so you can at least like walk around and see things, and in Fusion you don't. So you are kind of expected to just power bomb every room, because if you don't, you won't know how to find the secrets. The biggest change between Super and Fusion, because Super is kind of like the gold standard for Metroid games, at least up to this point, the biggest change is that Super is very open-ended, and you can explore to your heart's content. And then also, you find out halfway through, or a quarter of the way through Super, that you have a move you didn't know you had, and you can use it to sequence break the heck out of the game. And the developers expect you to do that, you know, like it's like, yeah, you can get things in whatever order, go for it. And in Fusion, it's not like that at all. There's still a sense of exploration because the game is divided into different sectors, and you can visit different sectors at different times. But as far as like collecting the items and the upgrades, that's really blocked off through the narrative, because at its core, Fusion is a pretty different game. It's not an open world experience like Super Metroid. It's very point A to B. You get navigation instructions from a navigation room, and then you go carry them out, and then you return to the navigation room, and you go from there. It's still very much a Metroid game. At no point does it not feel like a Metroid game. It's very much a Metroid game. It's just definitely a different take than Super. And between the two, I think I preferred Super. Not like by an extravagant amount. I think Fusion is great. I really loved Fusion. But between those two ideas, I would rather just be given the entire playground to explore and to figure out and find. I thought that was really, really fun. One thing I did really like about Fusion, though, is that Fusion, even from early on, it feels like a horror game. There are so many horror elements in Fusion when compared to, the past games that, like, it's not even close. Like in Metroid 2, there were elements that felt kind of horror-y to me just because it was unnerving. You're wandering around through Metroid 2, the screen real estate is very, very small, and you're going to stumble across what could be a very big Metroid enemy, and you have to deal with it, and you don't know where they're going to show up. Like, that's kind of scary. But aside from the ghost ship part of Super Metroid, there's not a whole lot of, like, horror elements, whereas in Fusion, the enemies, a lot of the bosses are, like, grotesque. There are some truly horrifying things, like really scary things in Fusion, and I really liked that because that was a nice little spin on the series thus far, because it hasn't really, like, delved into that too much. So I really enjoyed that. But all in all, great game. Great game. A little shorter than Super. A little more restricted, but still definitely worth playing, and I think very much worth playing in order. I know some people aren't going to want to go back as far as Metroid 1 and 2. They're going to play Zero Mission and Samus Returns, and that's fine. But play them. Play Super. Play Fusion. Play Metroid 4. Play them in narrative order and experience that, because I think it's very cool. I really enjoyed my time, and it is time to take a step back from Metroid for a bit. I won't be playing Metroid next week. I'm actually going to be starting up Subnautica, which will be very different. Well, different in some ways. There's going to be horror elements because I'm going to be under the water, and that's its own brand of hell. But I will be coming back to the Metroid series because I have genuinely enjoyed it so much. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Metroid Fusion will be out on Steven Plays at some point. Dan will be cutting them, but if you want to watch them now, they are on the VOD channel. Give it a watch. You can watch through the entire series. And I'm really looking forward to starting Subnautica next week. The only Subnautica I've ever played was for a First 20. I really liked it. And I'm looking forward to finding out what the rest of it is like. I guess I'll find out soon. Let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?